In this video, we're going to be taking a look at distance in the coordinate plane, and I would like you to turn your math book to page 402 and get out your math book, your pencil, your math journal, and we'll go ahead and get started with this video. Now, the essential question you could even see on page 401 is, how can you use absolute value to find the distance between 2 points with the same x or y coordinates? Now let's take a look at the answer for this. Now the one that I have right up here is the same x coordinate, but it really can be for the same y coordinate as well. So if both y coordinates have the same sign, find the difference of their absolute values to find the distance between the points. So you can see the example here. I have the same x coordinate, 0.3. Remember, the x coordinate is the first number in the ordered pair, y coordinate is the second number. So the same x coordinate. So because of that, I take a look at my y coordinate. All right, now both of them have the same sign. In other words, both of them are negative numbers. So what I do is I find the difference between these two because they both are negative numbers here. So I have -7, -5. I find the difference. Difference means subtraction. I take 7 minus 5, and that gives me 2 units away from each other. Now this also would work if even both of them are positive numbers. Okay, they would still be 2 units away from each other as well. So if both y coordinates are positive or they're both negative numbers, you find the difference. Now, if we can see if the y coordinates have different signs, you find the sum of their absolute values. So for example, let's say I have 0.3 -7 and 0.3 +5. What I do is I find their absolute values. So we know absolute value of 7 is 7, absolute value of 5 and 5. You find the sum. In other words, we add 7 plus 5, and that's going to give us 12 units then away from each other. Okay, so the same thing can be done if both y coordinates are equal. You would then look at the x coordinates and do the same thing with that as well. Okay, so here's an example of a problem like this. So I have 2 ordered pairs, and I have 7 as my y coordinate. So those are both equal. So because they're both equal, I'm now going to look at the x coordinate. Both of them have the same sign. In other words, they're both negative numbers. So -2, -3. I find the difference. So I take 3 minus 2, and that's going to give me 1. Do not do 2 minus 3 because 2 is the first one you see and 3 is the second one. You still want to do 3 minus 2. That's going to give you a difference of 1, so 1 unit away. Now, if we had a negative or a +2 and a -3, just like we did with the other one, you find the sum of their absolute values. So absolute value of 2 is 2. Absolute value of 3 is 3, so you just add those two together, and that's going to give you 5 units away. So this answers our essential question right at the very beginning, and now let's take a look a little bit deeper into this concept. Okay, so you can see the steps for finding distances in the coordinate plane on page 402, and what I would like you to do is just read through those different steps on point A and B. That's going to help you figure out numbers 3 and 4 as we work through 3 together, and then I'm going to have you do 4 on your own. So take this time to read through those steps, and you can pause the video to read through these steps. Okay, now that you've read through those steps for both A and B, let's take a look at question 3 together. Okay, so first of all, we can see point -4, 7, and then 0.5, 7. Okay, we need to find the distance between each pair of points. Now, first thing we want to take a look at is which coordinate is the exact same. So I can see -4 and 5, obviously that's not the exact same. So we can see the y coordinate, which is 7, those are both equal, or both the same. Okay, so the y coordinate is both the same. Therefore, we take a look at the x coordinates. You can see that I have a -4 and then a +5. So remember from the essential question that if you have different signs for the coordinates that you're comparing, you want to find the sum of their absolute value. So we have a -4, so absolute value of -4 is 4. absolute value of 5 is 5. So when I say the sum, you just add those two together. Why do we add them both together? Because we have a negative number and a positive number. If both of them were positive, we would find the difference or subtract them. Both of them were negative, we would find the difference or subtract them. But since we have a positive and negative, you need to find the sum of their absolute value. Okay, so 4 and 5 together is going to give us 9 units away. Okay, so for number 3, it's going to be 9 units. Now, what I would like you to do is number 4 all on your own and take a look at which coordinate is this exact same. Look at their signs, and that'll help you figure out the distance between each pair of points. So I'd like you to do this now. Okay, the answer for this one is 5 units. Why is it 5 units? Because first of all, we take a look at the x-coordinate are both the same. So because of that, we need to take a look at the y-coordinates. They both have the same sign. In other words, they're both negative numbers. So because they're both negative numbers, you find the difference between their absolute values. So we take 10 minus 5, and that's going to give us 5 units there. Now let's take a look at number 3. We'll do this one together. So it's saying use the coordinate plane, and it says the distance between point A and point B is, and they have a some blanks for us to fill in. So let's take a look at this one. So point A we see is 5, -3. So that's A. Then we see B is -2, -3. Okay, so we can see first of all that the y-coordinates are the same. So now we need to focus in on the x-coordinates. So because they both have different signs, what we're going to need to do is find the sum of their absolute value. So we can see 5, we need to find the absolute value of 5, absolute value of -2 as well. And what that's going to mean, absolute value of 5 is going to be +5, absolute value of -2 is going to be 2. Okay, then we can add or find the sum of both of those absolute values. That's going to give us 7 units for the answer. So again, make sure you look and see which coordinates are equal. Take a look at the other coordinate. Remember, if there's a positive number and a negative number, you need to find the sum of their absolute values. If both of them are positive or if both of them are negative, you find the difference between the two. So what I would like you to do is work on number 4 on your own, and we'll go over the answer. So you can pause the video now. Okay, let's take a look at number 4, go over this answer. So we have 0.5, -3, 0.1, -3. So we can see that the y-coordinates are equal. And now we see that the x-coordinates both have the same sign. In other words, both of them are equal. So what we need to do, we need to find the difference between their absolute values. So we have 5 as the absolute value. We find the absolute value of 1. Now the absolute value of 5 is 5. Absolute value of 1 is 1. So you find the difference between those two. That's going to give you 4 units. So this concludes the video on lesson 14.1, distance in the coordinate plane. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.